I'm with Colonel, let me get it right, Colonel Eileen Collins, Spacewoman. Let's go with the film first. Whose idea was it, and how excited are you about this project?
The film Spacewoman, by the way, you can find out about it on spacewoman.film website. But I want to say the reason the film was made was because of the book. So when my book came out about 4 years ago, a producer named Keith Haviland read my book. He contacted me and said, I would like to make a film on your book. And that happened like immediately after the book came out. And, it took me a little bit of time. I wasn't expecting that. And it took me a little bit of time to think about it, because putting your life on the big screen is, that's not something that we think about doing every day. And I had to really get permission from my family, my brother, sister, my husband, my kids, who are now in their 20s. And they were all supportive of it. So a couple of years ago, we started filming, and we have a director, Hannah Berryman, a very creative person, who did a wonderful job. And I'm very, very impressed. I'm kind of blown away with the final product. And I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Today's video is sponsored by The Vibe, everyone's favorite at work or on-the-go radio station, playing Spanish and English hits from the 80s till now all day long. Turn it up, keep it here, and feel the vibe by following the QR code on your screen or tap the link in the description.
And how did the book come about? Was it a passion project, or did you have a co-writer, or did you do as much as you could by yourself?
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked me that. I decided to write the book because of the pandemic. And I think you'll find there are some things that came out of the pandemic that you would not have happened otherwise. So I was very busy. I had retired from NASA and the astronaut program, and I was out, speaking, and I was doing, advisory, board work, consulting, things like that. I was raising my kids. I was very busy. And then when the pandemic hit, which you remember March 2020, the country shut down. And my life came to a screaming halt. That was kind of hard to deal with for somebody who's busy. And now I have to stay home. I go, well, that ain't going to work. So I started thinking about writing the book. And there was a co-author named Jonathan Ward who had been kind of bugging me over the couple of months and years. Let's write a book together. So I contacted Jonathan and said, you know what, I've got time, let's do the book. So I actually wrote the book. Jonathan was not a ghostwriter, but he was truly a co-author. Jonathan Ward had written 3 previous books on the space program, so he had a great reputation. So the way it worked is I would write a chapter, send it to Jonathan, and he would, fill in the blanks, he'd do the research. He also wrote the proposal for the book to get a publisher. When I got behind schedule, he edged me on, and, he actually helped me with a couple of the chapters in the middle. But basically it was a team effort between Jonathan and I. And so the book was published at the very end of 2021. And when the film producer, the producer of Spacewoman, contacted me, it took me about 9 months to say yes, 6 to 9 months for me to say yes to the film. And when I eventually said yes, I was in 100%. So I gave him all the time, him and his team, all the time they needed for interviews. They had access at NASA. They went to Kennedy Space Center, Johnson Space Center. They went to my hometown. They interviewed flight directors. They interviewed my crew members from my space shuttle missions. They interviewed my family members, my husband, my daughter, my son. And, the final product that came together is, I want to say it's a combination of documenting what happened on my 4 space shuttle missions, but combine that with the life of an astronaut. And what is it like on the personal side? To be an astronaut, to have a home life, married with children, how hard is it on your children when they see you launch into space, especially my last mission, which launched after we had a terrible accident and had lost 7 astronauts had died on the Columbia accident in 2003, and my mission was the next one up. So I think the film adds a lot of drama from that. It's very sad, but we did get the shuttle flying again. And I think what comes out in the film is, yes, we made a big mistake, but we didn't give up. We fixed the problems and we got the mission back on the road again. So that's kind of a summary of what the film is about. I think people are really going, in fact, I know people are really going to love the film, not just because of the story, but because of the way the music is edited into the storyline, and the personalities involved are, you'll see everything from the hard-nosed flight director to the humor in my crewmates, to the drama of my daughter kind of struggling with her mom going up in space. And all of that really comes together in the film. 90 minutes long, but it's jam-packed with a lot of action. So that's the way I would describe it, kind of in a nutshell.
What recommendation do you have for young women to get over the imposter syndrome, the feeling that you don't belong in a certain room? And what techniques or self-talk that you use to hype yourself up?
Yeah, I love that. I would say whatever it is that you are doing right now, your job, whatever, you might be a student, you might be working in a corporation somewhere, maybe you're in the military, whatever you're doing, be the best at what you do. Dive into your job, learn as much as you can from whatever documents you have, from talking to people, from listening in on conversations, going to listening in on meetings, learn about the industry that you're in and branch out. Read the history of your industry, read about where it's going in the future, get to be an expert. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was be an expert in something. So when it's time and your boss needs you, he's like, oh, Eileen knows the answer to that. Let's go ask her. And so I would say focus on being the best you can in the job that you're in. Now, another thing that I find that's really important is to read biographies of people, great people that have done things before you. So when I was a kid, I read, oh my goodness, I read so many biographies. I read Thomas Edison, who was an inventor. I remember reading about him. I read about pilots that flew in the World Wars. I read about the women Air Force service pilots, by name, like Jackie Cochran had a book out. I could name all these people, but reading biographies of great people, maybe, and then also read stories about your industry where they failed in the past. I mean, these stories are out there and you can find them online or in books or, so I would say this imposter syndrome that we call it now, it's been around forever, but now we put a name to it. I think that comes, so I've had that. I think that comes when you are still learning about what it is that you're doing. And that's okay. Don't be embarrassed about that. That's just part of the process that you go through in life, whether it's in your family or in your job. But I'm a lifetime reader. I read the astronaut biographies now. I read the Apollo astronauts, and you're seeing a lot of biographies come out from space shuttle astronauts. And the reason I like the space shuttle ones is the shuttle astronauts were more willing to talk about the mistakes that they made. And, that comes out in my book. I made it a point to talk about the mistakes I made and how I recovered from those. And even in the film SPACEWOMAN, we have a lot on mistakes and what we did to recover from them. And I think all that helps with, you called it the imposter syndrome. That's okay. Don't be embarrassed about that. Just keep learning.
Oh, thank you so much. That was very insightful. Colonel Eileen Collins, SPACEWOMAN, in theaters everywhere in New York, yes, and all around the world, and coming to a streaming platform near you very soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
If you're enjoying this content and would like to support the Jose Candelario Show, here are a few ways you can donate and help us keep creating more interviews, stories, and community content. Your support truly makes a difference. And thank you.